There's a niche market developing that is specifically for body positive fitness. People that want to work out, but they're sick of the gym being this like place of shame and self-hatred.
Are you ready? All right, let's go.
Manufacturing is sexy. Sounds crazy? Just wait. I'm Z Holly, host of The Art of Manufacturing. Your behind-the-scenes look at how people who make stuff are trying to make it in their industries. If you've ever wondered how to build a brand, a business, or just a better mousetrap, tune in and enjoy. Well, guess what? Our podcast is now banned in 20 countries, including India. The taboo episode 2 weeks ago was the culprit, and now the entire show has been censored. It makes me realize how grateful I am to live in a country that lets me have the freedom to make my own decisions. But to be honest, I was a little worried that all the talk about female body parts might not be everyone's cup of tea. But I got a lot of positive feedback about the episode. Many people really liked how we brought two founders together who had never met before to talk about common challenges in their industry. So maybe we'll try to do that again sometime. This week, we're talking with Micki Krimmel, the founder of an emerging apparel brand, Superfit Hero. Despite the fact that she has an entrepreneurial track record, she never imagined herself a designer of athletic fashion, and you'll see why in a minute. And she's finding challenges she never anticipated. I've gotten to know her new company, Superfit Hero, since she joined Make It in LA's Catalyst program, which is building a diverse community of creatives that manufacture in LA. It's so hard to differentiate an apparel brand these days, but she's doing it by being at the forefront of the new body positive movement. It's so cool to see Superfit Hero just hitting a tipping point, and her business is just taking off. They're doing great, but ironically at the same time, her challenges are just beginning. We hear about that and a whole lot more on this week's episode of The Art of Manufacturing.
Roller derby is probably one of the most revolutionary things happening on the planet right now. I don't think people recognize. It's a global phenomenon, women's sport, full contact, extremely competitive. I think when people think of roller derby, they sort of remember, the 70s and the 80s with the kind of fake fighting and, all of that. And it has come so far since then into a really, really, really competitive sport that the athletes take it very seriously. There's tons of training. But aside from the sport, there's also just this really amazing, inclusive, supportive, badass feminist community of like people who know how to get shit done. Because if you can run a volunteer sports organization, you can pretty much do anything. Like it's really amazing. My whole business is built on this community. Every time I need a photographer, a lawyer,
amazing.
Yeah, I hired my first employee from roller derby. Like it's been a very, very supportive network for me.
Well, definitely. I think a lot of sports that are a little more fringe or, that you feel a kinship with the folks that are participating in that as well.
I think sports in general. I think being on a sports team as an adult is a very unique experience. I think it's something a lot of us do as kids. And roller derby actually draws the type of people who maybe weren't sports people as kids, right? And so I'd never been an athlete before roller derby. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I'm actually really good at this. And you start, building confidence in new ways and building friendships in new ways and learning how to be a member of a team and how to put the team first and all these really amazing skills that, we probably should have gotten when we were kids. But I don't think women are necessarily pushed into sports or girls are pushed into sports the same way boys are. So I think being on a team is just such a unique and supportive experience that sort of lends to lots of great things.
Awesome. So how did that end up kind of inspiring you to start your company? That's my understanding, is that it inspired your company now.
Definitely. I started Superfit Hero as a roller derby company with roller derby as the initial market, but it was also very much inspired by the ethos of roller derby and what I was learning as a player. My own personal relationship with fitness and with my body went through a huge transformation when I became a roller derby athlete. I stopped going to the gym to try to be smaller. I wasn't counting calories. I think like, most adult women, I had a rocky relationship with my body for my whole life. And, the fitness industry sort of perpetuates these ideals and, diet after diet and this workout and that workout. But I never felt like an athlete. I never felt like I was, trying to accomplish something that was not about my appearance until roller derby. And that changed everything. I started lifting weights to be stronger, not smaller. I remember when I first deadlifted 300 pounds and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a different person now. Like,
That's
right
amazing.
now. Yeah. I was like, I don't give a shit how much I weigh. I only care about how much I can lift now. And like, I realized at that moment how transformative that was for me. And I felt like I was in such a unique position because of roller derby to have had this amazing experience that I wanted to share it with other people. Like I wanted to build a brand that told other women, what sport actually was good for.
So tell us about Superfit Hero.
Yeah.
What is like the one sentence elevator pitch?
Superfit Hero is a feminist, body positive fitness line. We're doing primarily leggings and bottoms right now, but the purpose is to really help make fitness more inclusive and empowering for women. And we're doing that two ways. One is with really amazing product that fits the majority of women. So it's a size inclusive brand. We go from extra small to 5XL. To my knowledge, it's the most inclusive fitness brand for women. But also just really high quality premium stuff that previously was not available to plus size athletes in particular. But then the other side of the business is the content side. And so I do a lot of, sort of body positive feminist content. I sponsor non-traditional and plus size athletes. Our website, it's so obvious, but it actually is revolutionary that we actually have a model for every size on our website so that people can see themselves in the product.
Yeah, but don't we buy the product because we feel aspirational to look exactly like that model does, even though we're not going to?
How has that worked out for you, though?
Not
right?
very well.
I was thinking about this earlier today. I didn't start the company to fix the shopping experience. Like that wasn't the goal, but it's a huge part of what I do every day, especially with customer support and dealing with sizing questions and things like that. I hate shopping. I hate it. I hate trying clothes on. You don't know if they're going to fit. You don't feel good in them. And for plus size women, they don't see themselves in the fashion industry anywhere. They're not represented. And so they're just guessing maybe this size will fit me. And then they put it on and it doesn't feel good. They don't feel good in it. That process is just such an emotional process. And so just by showing different body types and including their measurements and their weight on the website is it seems so obvious, but just that small decision helps women see themselves in our product, helps them choose the right size and know that we respect them equally no matter what size they happen to wear.
It's so frustrating when I don't like to shop either. But when you go and you look at the comments, because sometimes that's the only clue, but then they'll say, oh, it was too small. Well, you're not helping me because I don't know how much you weigh or how big you are. And so
it's true. Well, and it's challenging because there is no standard, right? Your small and my small aren't the same. And even the numerical sizes, 20, 22, they're not the same across brands. So you really just have to go by measurements. And so we've done our best to really test and retest our size chart to make sure it's correct to at least our own brand so that if you do your measurements that you're going to get in the right size. So, we have our range of models, but we also have user review photos. So customers are encouraged to do photo reviews and post their weight and size so that not only are you seeing our, professional model photos, but they're not really professionals, they're all my friends, but but the photographers are professional. So you're seeing these beautiful photos alongside, the customer submitted ones. So you really get a better sense of oh, she looks like me, I'm a size large or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Tell me a little bit about how that path looked like when you started your the journey into being a manufacturer.
Oh my God. So I've been in business now for 3 years, if you count the Kickstarter, and I'm on my 7th factory. So I definitely underestimated the challenge. I'm like, oh, I live in LA. There's factories everywhere. No biggie, But wow, I was wrong. It's really, really, really hard. Like just recently in the past 3 months, have I actually felt like I'm a customer with my factory, where they treat me like a customer, where they're trying to please me and they're trying to keep me. Previously, it was very much the reverse. It was like, please, please, please take my job. Please take my money. I don't care how much it costs,
Crazy.
Yeah. Like they actively do not want your business if you're small. And it makes sense. Most of the work at a factory is in the prep, right? It's like getting the job set up and doing the cutting. And, when you're small, you're probably working with a full service factory that does, the pattern and the fitting and all of that stuff. That's the hard work. And they don't really get paid for that, right? They get paid for the production. And so if your order is really small, they don't want to do all that prep work because they could do the same amount of prep work for a much larger job, which for them is just a more efficient choice, obviously. So
it's actually interesting. In hardware, you do pay for a lot of that setup. I mean, you could pay $50,000 for fixtures and, even more. If you're doing a car, it costs you, almost $1 billion. So why aren't we paying for that up front? And then it would make it a lot easier.
I think there's not really a system in place for startup fashion brands, right? The factories are set up to kind of just spit stuff out. Like that's what they would rather do. They'd rather you come with a pattern and a tech pack and they just spit it out. I think now there are, like with the advent of things like Maker's Row and these other tools to kind of help entrepreneurs get in touch with manufacturers. Some manufacturers are starting to do like more full service, like help you with the design, help you with and they will charge for it, but you'll also pay more on the other end. I worked with one of these factories for a while, and at first I thought this is the perfect solution. They get it. They use the right language. They understand the internet. Like they have a website, I was like, they are cutting edge. Yeah, exactly. And they were struggling because it's hard to make it as a manufacturer in Los Angeles as well. It's expensive to do here. They need volume to survive, frankly, right? And so trying to cater to businesses like mine, they have no choice but to keep charging me more and more and more and more. And it's just unsustainable because I don't have Nike dollars. So it ended up not actually being the great fit in the end. I just solved the problem with scale, frankly. I just got big enough to where it didn't matter.
You said you're on your 7th factory. Yeah. It wasn't like you made any mistakes. It was just, or would you have done anything differently?
I couldn't have done anything differently. I wish I could have. I didn't have a bunch of options. I came in not knowing anything. I don't have a fashion background. I didn't have connections. Like you just alluded to, the factories, don't have websites. They're not open for business. Like you have to know someone to get in. And so I initially worked with, honestly, he was a really great guy. He's more of a denim guy than like an activewear guy. And that difference is huge as far as, how things are actually made. And the factories aren't usually doing both. So it's important to kind of choose people that are in your space. But I was introduced to him and he was really helpful and brought me around to a bunch of different factories. And, so it would work for one production and then they'd be like, yeah, we don't want to do the next one. And so he'd get me in a new factory. And it was always, oh, I'm running out. I was always out of stock. My biggest problem the first couple of years was just keeping inventory in stock, which is a great problem to have. Don't get me wrong. But it forced me to kind of just take whatever was available on the factory side, like, oh, this factory will do my job. Great. Let's go.
How about the materials? Do the materials make a big difference because it is activewear? What are some of those decisions that you had to make? Yeah,
the materials are the difference, actually. Being in LA, we have access to fabric vendors that actually have stock in Los Angeles. Now I'm big enough that I can actually like order custom colors and prints that are just available to my brand. You need 1,000 yards minimum to do that, basically. And so when I first started, you're limited to what's in stock in Los Angeles. You ask around and there's a few vendors that have really high quality fabric that work with, mainstream active brands. And so that's where you go. And this is why you see a lot of the, startup brands using a lot of the same patterns and fabrics because that's what's around. I mean, the fabric is one of the main factors in the fit, and the feel and the compression and the security. And like what people love about Superfits is that they make you feel really like secure. So it's compressing, but it's soft, it's brushed. It's like, it feels, one of my favorite reviews is that they feel like a lower body hug.
Aw.
I'm like, yay. So that decision was really, really, really important. And it's also really, really expensive. So really nice fabric costs a lot. And making things in LA costs a lot. And so I learned really quickly, like when I started doing development, that this was going to be a premium brand. Like there was no way around it. I wasn't going to be able to cut corners. I didn't want to cut corners on the fit. The fit is like the promise of the whole brand, right? And the only way to do that well is to have it make sense financially is to offer it at a premium price point. So once you know you're a premium brand, then everything has to flow from that. Like the design of the website, the way you communicate with people, like everything then is driven by, like, it has to fit that price point, right? I can't be charging Lululemon prices and have, I don't know, it's a budget website, right? It just doesn't work. So the product drove those decisions. Like once I knew this is my fabric, this is my fit, this is how much it costs. I was like, okay, this is the arena we're playing in now, which I'm actually really comfortable there, because I feel like, for plus size consumers in particular, they haven't had the opportunity to have like really great fitting, kick-ass performance wear because they're not respected as athletes in the same way. And so, there's a point in your athletic journey where you're like, I'm good at this. I'm taking this seriously. It's time for me to like get proper gear, right? That's what we're for. We're like, once you get to that point in your athletic journey where you're like, I deserve better stuff, that's what Superfit Hero is for.
Where are you now in your journey? It sounds like you've turned a corner.
I definitely have, yeah.
I like that smile on your face.
For sure.
How did you get there? What changed?
I think that my timing was really good. I started the company, I did the Kickstarter in 2015, and this is like when the body positivity movement really started to gain traction. You started seeing, videos on BuzzFeed, and like the company is a 2-person company right now. It's myself and my customer support person. And then obviously tons of contractors and factories and designers and amazing people that help when needed. But the core team is just 2 of us. And so I think I'm just authentic, right? It's like, it sounds so cheesy, but it's just true. It's like I built a brand that is about what I care about, and I live it every day. And like, I'm the one doing the posts. I'm the one making the product. I'm the one hiring the models. I mean, I think when you have a brand that has a singular voice like that, people recognize it. But the timing is also really important. I think body positivity as a mainstream movement is definitely happening right now. I mean, Tess Holliday, a plus size model, was just on the cover of Self magazine. That's insane. Like there's great, amazing things happening in this movement. But there's a niche market developing that is specifically for body positive fitness. People that want to work out, but they're sick of the gym being this like place of shame and self-hatred, right? And I'm trying to develop Superfit Hero as like the brand of that movement. You're an athlete. You're not just going to the gym to try to be something you're not. But yeah, we turned a huge corner. I think November was like our turning point. Like holiday season last year was when I was like, whoa, this is really happening, And then we ran out of stock again. And then I did this really great partnership with Dana Falsetti. She's an amazing yoga instructor and advocate, super popular on Instagram, but now has a podcast and her own yoga platform. I mean, she's just amazing. That was a really great partnership. I think like really great timing for both of us. I think it's really just about connecting with the right people and building those relationships early on.
But it seems like you've definitely captured that niche, and also that those partnerships are really powerful. And I'm wondering, how do you approach someone like a Dana Falsetti, to try to get that partnership going? Yeah,
I mean, I fretted over it. I'm like, I've never done anything like this before. I have a lot of partners that are around the like 24,000 follower, between 25 and 50 100,000 followers. She's way bigger than that. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, what's the appropriate, you want to like show someone that you respect them, but also not, it's like this whole thing. But honestly, she's just so genuine and so straight up about like who she is, what she wants. She could be working with any brand she wants, but she's really true to who she is and what she cares about. And she would rather work with us. But I'm looking at doing more of that, like highlighting, not influencers. I hate calling them that, but like, highlighting women in the space that are sharing the good word, if you will, and like, that's the most fun part of the job, is being able to tell those stories and connect with people in a really genuine way.
So I want to break it down further. You were not, a fashion designer. You were not a manufacturer. You didn't have experience in this. What was that first meeting like with a factory? What were the decisions that you had to make in the conversation that you had with them?
Starting a company requires a certain amount of audacity, and like when I look back at it now, I was like, who the hell did I think I was? No, my background is in tech and entertainment. The tech industry teaches you how to build products, right? And the tech industry has like a really great community of a support network, basically, of like conferences and events and books and blogs. And like if you're in the tech industry, you have access to the smartest people. That's just built into the ethos of that community in a way that it is not in fashion. But what I learned from tech is how to build a product, how to do customer discovery, how to ask people, what do you love about, that's what I did. So, okay, women of various sizes, what do you love about leggings? What do you hate about them? What are your favorite ones? What are your least favorite ones? And I went out and I bought every pair of leggings I could get my hand on. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is bad. This is good. This is bad. And I kind of designed my own fit based on the questions and feedback I was receiving from other people. And I have access to lots of women, being in a women's sport where people wear a lot of leggings. But I also did like an online survey to ask more specific questions. And then from that, I kind of pieced together what I would want. And I'm not a designer, so I didn't have a pattern. I didn't have specs. I didn't have any of that. I just knew what I wanted. Like, okay, I want the waistband to be high. I don't want it to have elastic at the top. It has to taper. Like, all these things that I sort of figured out. And the first place I went to I basically just asked around. I was like, okay, I live in LA. There's fashion entrepreneurs. And so I started getting intros that way. I learned about Makers Row, which is a really great resource if people don't know about it, particularly for people just starting out, where you can sort of type in your location and the type of product that you want to make and your level of experience. And it will like spit out factories that are near you that want to talk to people like you. And that was really helpful. And that actually is how I found my first factory. And they didn't end up being the right factory for the production process, but they were awesome for like doing the pattern making and the development and all the fit testing before the Kickstarter. And so that was my plan, was I wanted to kind of get the fit and everything ready to go so that the Kickstarter would be just about the production phase. So yeah, I just went in there and I had a bunch of samples and I said what I wanted. And I had this crazy idea for the design that was much more like superhero themed than where I ended up. And they made me the sample just like I asked for. And I was like, wow, that's really ugly. Like, that thing's terrible. I'm a terrible designer.
Did it come with a cape?
It might have. It was bad. It was not good.
And I want the what are those called in the gloves when you have the gauntlets?
Yeah.
Like the big shield.
Totally.
I could just totally see that.
Yeah. So it definitely was not premium. It was. I totally forgot that even happened until you just asked me. It was, the first sample was orange, white, and black.
Oh my God, that is actually kind of weird.
It was. Yeah, it was aggressive.
Do you have it still?
I do have it. Yeah. I mean, not with me here, but yes, I do still have it.
I wonder if you could see a picture of it. Maybe if you could dig it up, we'll post it.
Yeah. So we made that in different sizes and we did some fittings and we were like, yeah, that's not going to work. But I really like the waistband. And so we went through, I don't know, maybe like 6 different iterations before I felt like I was ready to go into the Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. And it was all just simplify, which is the same thing that happens when you're building technology products.
What did you simplify?
Oh, well, just the design for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It became more about, so what needs to be unique about Superfit Hero is not the visual design, it's the fit and the access, right? It's better for me to kind of tone down the design and just stick with the fit.
Well, so show me you brought this sample here, and so you can talk me through what's special
so
about
this is our Black Capri, which is our best-selling item. It's basically like the signature item. Let's see. So
Let's see that.
yeah, so the fabric is very, very high quality performance fabric, polyester spandex mix, but it's brushed, so it feels really soft both on the inside and outside.
I love these little pockets.
Yeah, the pockets are amazing. So there's 2 full-size pockets on your hip on the right and the left side that will fit even the big phones.
Who puts a pocket in the front where you can't when you're bending over and everything?
Yeah.
That's great. And I love this wide waistband. I can see that would be nice.
Yeah,
and,
the waistband is really key. The really important parts of the waistband are like where it fits the top part, where that lands on your waist, but also the bottom seam needs to be in the right spot so that it doesn't feel like it's drooping or there's no rolling. The waistband is the key. That's really
I
the
suspect
key.
this. I don't know if this is gonna be big enough for my butt though.
It will be. It definitely will. You're
That's
absolutely a medium.
Well, thank you. Wow, this is great.
So this is our signature fit. So like with the waistband and the pockets and just, the sizing and the fit of this is the same fit across all the styles. So we have a legging, a short, and a capri, and they're all the exact same fit. And then we basically sort of refresh the line by doing new prints, new colors. I'm very excited to get into new products like tops and sports bras and stuff, but just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, cool.
And I'm really, really excited about where it is right now. We did a very extensive fitting process this time with much more athletes doing, various activities. I mean, we tested them even in the first phase. We had athletes doing CrossFit, roller derby. We had a medieval combat athlete. I mean, we had people doing everything.
That's so funny. So, yeah, I mean, no shame in the different body types, but I don't know. Some sports might be kind of bizarre. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I love that's actually one of the most fun parts is like just reposting people in them on social media. I mean, people wear them for everything. They wear them to the airport. They wear them, they're just amazing leggings with these big, huge pockets. And so I've actually heard from a lot of women that they work really well for maternity and postpartum because the waistband is so supportive without having an elastic at the top.
You're listening to The Art of Manufacturing. Follow our adventures on Instagram and Twitter @ArtofMFG. And to chat with other like-minded creators, join the Art of Manufacturing Facebook group. We'll be right back after this break. I want to give a shout out to LegalZoom. They started out right here in LA with a belief it shouldn't be a frustrating or expensive experience to create a will, form a business, or apply for a trademark. So they started a movement to make legal help available to all. No confusing forms, no robots, just a straightforward online experience, transparent flat fee pricing, and the right people to help with all the details. I'm especially a fan because they're supporting Make It in LA and our local businesses. Participants in the Catalyst program will get a complimentary legal kit and access to their business legal plan for a year. Super generous. If you want to learn more about the company, visit makeitinla.org/LegalZoom. LegalZoom, where life meets legal. We're speaking with Micki Krimmel, the founder of Superfit Hero.
So I love the factory I'm working with now. They're just great. The prices are where I need them to be. The quality is flawless. They work with much larger activewear brands than me. And so when I first came in, I don't think they knew what to make of me. They're not used to the founder and CEO walking in and being the fit model. But now, we've built a great relationship and they're teaching me what they need from me and vice versa. And like I said before, they're finally treating me like a customer. But I know that if their big name brand, activewear brand comes and says, oh, we have an order for you that we need done in 6 weeks, they'll be like, yeah, you have to wait. Sorry. So having a backup factory would be great. My biggest issue now is just I'm growing so fast that I have to wrap my own brain around what that means I need to do differently for the business, right? So the planning is different. The finances are different. I have to create so much inventory and inventory projections and financials. I've never done a business before with the actual physical items. And so I don't excel at that. That's an area where I could definitely use some help.
Well, I can see that there's so much that you're trying to juggle as it is. And then any uncertainty on top of that just can create a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. I mean, there's anxiety when you're not making sales, when you're brand new. You're like, oh, is anybody going to buy this? And then there's anxiety when people are buying it. Can I keep up? Am I going to miss something? Yeah, it's tricky.
What are you hoping to get out of the Catalyst program?
I'm excited the Catalyst program even exists. Like, I was hoping this is where you were going to go with your project, because it's so, instead of just being about ideas, it's like actually making shit happen. Like, I love it. It's so good. It's so needed. I'm so excited. For me specifically, it's about networking with other creators in LA, especially in my industry, but also outside of my industry. The ideal scenario for me at the end of all of that would be like to have a kind of mentor in place that helps me with just feel more confident around those things, because it's not my background. But also I feel like I can maybe even help some of the brands that aren't as far along as me. Like, I also want it to go in the other direction. Like, I'm really excited about, I can talk about Kickstarter. It would be great to help people not have to go through 7 factories in 3 years.
Tech industry has this.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think about that all the time, how, the tech industry has this culture of sharing information. There's a conference and an event literally every night in Los Angeles, but everywhere in the tech industry, teaching people about everything you need to know, brand building, SEO, marketing, product development, UX, like whatever you want to know, there's a conference and you can attend probably for free to go learn what you need to do for your business. And that is not true in fashion. Factories don't have websites. Finally, I found like some Facebook groups where people are starting to share, but people aren't open about what they're working on. There's a sort of culture of like not trusting one another, or it's too competitive. And I would love to sort of see some of that openness of the tech culture. The idea that more information leads to more innovation is like an idea that I don't think fashion has really embraced yet.
I wonder why. Maybe because the competitive advantage is just so hard to defend. There's no IP.
They're all just ripping each other off anyway. It's just I don't buy it. It seems like I don't know.
Tell me a little bit about your sort of history as an entrepreneur. It's not your first rodeo.
No, I say it's my third. It's technically my second as a founder. I mean, I've been working in startups forever. I went to film school a million years ago and moved to LA, as one does, from Boston. And the first job I got magically was as the third employee at Participant Media, which people may or may not know. It's a film company in Hollywood with a mission to affect social change. And so I think that really sort of set my path, right? And so everything I've done has kind of been in that vein in some way. So I was the third employee there, which basically, that's a startup, right? People don't think of entertainment companies as startups, but it's definitely a startup. This was like, MySpace era. People weren't calling it social media yet, but that was basically my job. Like, how do I get people engaged online around these issues, around the films we were making? And so through that, I got to meet really amazing people that are in the tech industry and founders and, just amazing people. And I was like, oh yeah, if they can do it, I can do it. And so I started my first company in 2008 called Neighbor Goods. This is one of the first sharing economy tools. So the idea was that neighbors could, lend and borrow items instead of buying everything new. So like borrow your neighbor's ladder, lend a power drill, that kind of thing. It got a lot of press. This is one of those ideas that was like, it was at the beginning of what is now, a whole ecosystem of startups that are all about connecting people to share resources.
So things like Zipcar and Airbnb and Uber in a way. And
Exactly. Yeah. And they all kind of started around the same time when this market started to emerge.
It's not always good to be ahead of your time, though.
I definitely was ahead. Yeah. I think, yes. I mean, there was a bunch of challenges there, but that was one of them. Yeah. And I mean, the sharing economy, people don't even use that term anymore. Now it's the gig economy. It turned into something, it turned into profit is what it did, right? They're like, how do we take this idea and make money from it?
Sharing. How nice.
By changing it. Yes, exactly.
So what was your challenge? You said that there are a lot of challenges.
There was a ton of challenges. As a first-time entrepreneur, I was a solo founder, which I am again, but at the time that was like unheard of. I don't need a tech partner to build a Superfit Hero because Shopify exists, right? But back then, you needed a tech co-founder if you were going to build something that existed online. And so that was a challenge. I didn't know how to talk to investors. I didn't know what I was going to spend the money on necessarily. I think Neighbor Goods, like, what was cool about it was a sort of signifier of this new emerging market, but it as an actual platform wasn't going to work as a business. I think it was one of those things where people are like, oh, that's such a great idea. but that's because it's how we wish we were, not how we actually are, right? We have these aspirational ideas of ourselves where we're like, oh yeah, that's so great. A platform where people can lend and borrow things. But the reality is like, it's just easier to buy it on Amazon. So that's what we do.
Right. Like, that was such a great idea to spend all that money on an off-road vehicle, which I never use.
Do you have an off-road vehicle?
No.
Oh.
I'm just saying, like, that's what people do, right?
Okay. Yes, it is.
It's like all aspirational.
Yeah, it is true. I like to ride off-road vehicles. That's why I was like,
no.
See, I didn't know.
I would like to.
It's super fun.
I just don't need another sport right now.
Yeah.
You have to take me one day. When my ankle gets unbroken, it heals.
I have my beginner bike, which I kept.
Oh, really?
Because everyone always says they want to go, and it's so easy to ride. And I'm like, I want more friends, especially women, to do it. And
where do you go?
Usually Gorman. It's like an hour. Yeah.
Do you go to Jawbone Canyon?
We went to Jawbone once and then realized we forgot our keys.
So you never went back again?
We haven't been
Don't want that to happen.
We haven't been back. My new bike does not require a key, so I would be fine now. But,
oh, no. Yeah. And then what was your next one?
So I also worked for lots of other startups in between all this. I have a lot of experience in like community building, communications, community management of online communities. And so that's really what sparked all of this stuff. The second one that I ran was called Creative District, and this is a startup within the larger company Technicolor, which is why I kind of don't count it because I didn't found it. It's not mine. But they hired me to run this startup. And our team did everything from start to finish, like customer discovery. What is the product? We built the product. We went out and did the marketing. It was basically all the same steps. I just didn't have to do the fundraising.
That counts.
Yeah.
Fundraising is the worst part, but
Exactly.
in my opinion, but yeah, no, that's great. Cause you definitely.
Oh, it was awesome. It was a great experience. We had a really kick-ass team, and we were building something super cool. It was kind of like a social network for filmmakers, but around finding work and sharing work. So, like a LinkedIn, but with actual videos and product on the site, so you can see people's work and connect with people through the work.
Right.
It was really cool. It was a short-lived project, unfortunately, primarily just because Technicolor kind of gave up on the whole startup thing. This is really challenging for a legacy company like that to run startups because the systems are not in place.
Well, I was going to say that as hard as it is to raise money, people also underestimate how hard it is to do something really entrepreneurial in a bureaucratic organization.
100%. And they were committed. Don't get me wrong. I think that, I always felt supported. It just didn't, the systems weren't in place for it to work. We couldn't even like order something on Amazon. Like everything had to go through purchasing. Everything had to go through these.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that is, And we had to mark our hours every week and like all this, which is stuff you have to do at a big company. But, as startup people, we were like, what? We don't have time for this. Like we're trying,
So what did you learn from those different, participant and Neighbor Goods, Creative District, all that? that really helped you with your current startup?
All three of those companies were so different, and I learned what I really care about with entrepreneurship and what I don't, right? Like, I'm not impressed by the TechCrunch articles like, oh, so-and-so raised $1 million. Like, as an entrepreneur, I really value, being able to sort of design my lifestyle instead of having my life support my company. So I really designed my company so that I could work on the things I enjoy doing every day, where I felt empowered to make it successful on my own. And so, like, every piece of Superfit Hero is designed to support that, to support how I want to actually spend my time every day. But I think in the startup ecosystem, we have this idea that, go $1 billion or go home, right? Because that's what VCs want. And I think that that's challenging for our economy too. I mean, we can't just have $1 billion companies and then minimum wage workers. We need a middle class. We need companies in the middle. I'm more interested in sort of operating in that space where you can work more slowly and more sustainably and build a company that lasts a lifetime.
You mentioned that the customer angle was a really important differentiator. Can you talk a little bit about customer service?
I realized I've always been in customer service. Growing up, I put myself through school waiting tables. I waited tables for so many years, and I loved it. I hated it and I loved it, like everyone who works in the service industry. But every job, I realized, is a service industry job in the end, right? If you're trying to get people to pay for your service, even if it's a product, what you're actually providing is the service around the product. Fashion in particular, what you wear, the clothes, like, there's no other more intimate transaction, right? The clothing you put on your body next to your skin, it makes you feel a certain way. It either makes you feel good about yourself or makes you feel powerful. You dress for the kind of day that you're planning on having, right? And to be able to be a part of that decision for like thousands of women every morning is, to me, it's like so profound. I'm like, that is amazing. It's really, really intimate and super emotional, especially because we're putting ourselves out there as a brand that sees you. We want to make women feel seen. We want to make them feel heard. We want to make them feel important because they are all of those things. And so I've come to this point where answering customer service emails is actually kind of my favorite thing to do.
Oh my God.
Which is crazy. It gives me the opportunity to show that, to like be that, to live that, right? So what happens, we'll get emails from women who aren't happy that something doesn't fit and they thought they ordered the right size and they're angry. And your first instinct for a second is to be like, well, did you measure? Look at the size chart. But you can't do that. And like, that doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve her.
Is there a recent interaction that stands out in your mind?
Yeah, there is actually. So what happens when you use different fabrics or different patterns, even if the specs and the measurements of the garment are exactly the same, it feels different, right? And we did a few prints recently that definitely felt different. They didn't have the same amount of stretch. They would loosen up over time and sort of get to where you wanted them, but when you first put them on, they feel smaller. But that doesn't change the fact that people will expect this fit and then they get something that feels different. There was one woman in particular who was very, very upset because she knew the black fit and she ordered the same size and to her it didn't fit, sent a very strongly worded email and anyone, when you read an email like that, you have an instinct to kind of defend yourself, right? But I don't, and I didn't, and I was like, okay, instead of like taking it personally or getting upset, like I tried to read into what she was actually saying and what she actually wanted, and then I was able to help her by sending her the correct size and not waiting until we got the exchange. I just sent it right away, gave her a discount on her next order. Like I did everything I could to please her, and it worked. And now she's out there advocating for us on social media. She's like talking about how she was very upset, but how the founder reached out and did everything that I could to help her.
As a opposed to all the other employees that could have.
Exactly. Well, it's 50% chance that it's going to be me, but I mean, that stuff matters. And, it's like just treating people like people, it's like, and recognizing, I think that even though I'm selling a product, it's actually not what I'm selling. Do you know what I mean? What I'm selling is the experience around the product and hopefully the confidence that women feel when they wear the product. Like that's what we're really selling.
Right. And if you just jump down their throats, you're kind of not selling them that product. Yeah. You mentioned it's a feminist brand. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Well, Superfit Hero is 100% a feminist brand. Like that is its mission, its goal. I mean, it's who I am. It is what drives every decision, literally every decision we make. I don't think you can be a feminist brand and not be size inclusive. I don't think you can be a feminist brand and only feature, skinny white women as your fit models. Feminism has to be inclusive. It has to be about what women can accomplish as opposed to what they look like. And so these are the things, the values that I'm really trying to put forward in the brand. But it's also decisions on the production side. Can you be a feminist brand if you're using labor that isn't paid minimum wage? I don't think so. Can you be a feminist brand if you're manufacturing in factories that you haven't visited and actually talked with the employees? I don't think so. That is really the core of who we are, and those decisions flow through everything, the marketing, the product, even the financing. I don't wake up in the morning excited about making rich white guys more rich. And so I'm not really excited about doing VC fundraising. I think I can build a brand with the support of my customers instead. That will allow me to keep making decisions that are in their best interest. So
that's a really interesting point that a lot of people, I think, miss is that you can be customer financed. And in fact, by doing that, it forces you to listen to your customer and can make you more successful in the long run.
Definitely. I had the advantage of having the roller derby community, which is how my Kickstarter was successful, right? You kind of already have to have a network to go that route. But I had the benefit of that amazing network to be sort of my Kickstarter. Yeah, I mean, what people don't realize about fundraising is how much it limits your definition of success down the road. Investors expect a 10x return, and they expect it within 10 years. Mm-hmm. So whether you're ready to or not, you're selling the company in 10 years. If that's where you're going to go for financing, you have to understand what it looks like on the other end. And so I own the majority of my company right now. I have a few tiny friends and family investors who are just amazing people who love me, who will do well, right? If I raise $1 million, now I have to sell it for 10. If I raise 10, now I have to sell it for 100. Like my options for success are so much wider now. Just using acquisition as an example, that's not even my path.
Tell me about your 16-year-old self.
Let's see. When I was 16, I was complicated. We're all complicated at 16, right? I was like a drama nerd, I loved the theater.
Oh my God, we just had 2 other women who both were in theater. They didn't know each other. They were on the same podcast.
How funny.
It was about taboo products. Anyway.
Oh, I heard that one.
You did?
Yeah.
I did. What is it about drama nerds?
I love that you brought them both together. I thought that was a really
They'd never
cool
met
choice.
before.
It was awesome. Yeah, I was a drama nerd. So at school till 10 or 11, doing all the play stuff. But I was overachiever, AP classes. I had a pretty tumultuous family life as a kid. And so school was like my escape. I was really good at school. I loved it. And I knew that it was like my path out of that craziness, right? Like, I'm going to college. Screw you guys. I'm out of here. And that's what I did. But it was very much like school, drama. I mean, I also had a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't have a lot of rules in my house as a teenager. And so, I'd be out doing whatever I wanted on the weekends. And I lived in Virginia Beach. So there was a lot of like overnight overnight beach parties and bonfires and stuff like that.
You were the kid that all the other kids' parents worried about. It sounds like.
But I got straight A's. So
Yeah,
it's like
okay.
on paper, I'm like,
That's a good point.
that's the thing.
Wasn't me. Who,
Yeah,
me?
exactly. Look at me. I don't get in trouble. Yeah. So, but yeah, I just couldn't wait to get to college and kind of get going, you know. But I was not an athlete. That sport, not even on my radar. Like my whole life, no way. Like I was one of those kids that like tried to skip out a PE class. Like I did not. I didn't know that you could be, you know, a drama dork and an athlete. I didn't find that was roller derby really, you know, which I didn't even start till I was 29. That would have been a nice addition, you know, sport would have been cool, but it just was not on my radar.
What would she think about you today?
Oh my God. It's so funny how some things are that never change and then some things change a lot. Like I think my personality is kind of the same, honestly. Like she'd be like, oh yeah, that's me. That's just an older version of me. But then like the fashion thing would be very surprising. I'm not a fashion person. I've never really I hate shopping. I own 0 accessories. Like I'm not a fashionable person. Especially when I was 16. When I was 16, I wore I dressed like a skater boy. You know, I had like the giant pants and like, you know, the plastic jewelry, that kind of thing. So I think I would have been very shocked to learn that I would own a fashion company. Even business. I think entrepreneurship would have surprised me because at the time I was like, you know, I thought I was going to be like an academic or an artist. I definitely think that I would be surprised that I'm, you know, in business. Now I recognize it's all the same. It's all the same process. Like it's a creative process, whatever it is that you're building. I feel so creative building my business every day. You know, it definitely gives me what I need in that regard. But I don't think I would have seen it that way when I was 16.
If you had one piece of advice to give people, something you wish you had known when you were getting started, what would it be?
I think it would be about physical activity and connection to your body. Like I think my experience with sport and finding respect and connection to my physical self made everything else possible. Without that foundation of confidence in like who I am as a human, I don't think I would be able to go into factories and be like, yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but this is what you're going to make.
I want to try roller derby and go off-roading with you. You're not doing the roller derby anymore?
I retired from competitive roller derby 2 seasons ago, but I still play for fun, like whenever I can, if there's a pickup game or an open scrimmage. I love it. It's so fun.
So what's the basic rule for everybody?
Okay, so there's no ball. It's kind of a race. There's an oval track. Each team has 5 players on the track at a given time, 4 blockers and 1 jammer. The jammer is the player that can score points. So 1 jammer on each team. She's the only one that can score. She has a star in her helmet. That's how you know who she is. There's a line on the track, and the jammers have to start behind the line, and the blockers all have to start in front of the line. And the blockers have to stay within 10 feet proximity of each other in order to engage with anyone. So the jammers then, when the whistle blows, they're on a race. They want to get through the pack of blockers, and then whoever gets through first now controls the clock. So then on the second pass through, you score a point for each opposing player that you pass. So they try to like build all these interesting wall formations with their bodies, and they try to hit you off the track, and they do all this. This is where the sort of rugby scrum stuff comes in. They try to keep you behind them. And
Very
then,
tactical.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of fun to see the strategy of the sport evolve year to year because it's still so new. Like modern roller derby's only been around for 12 or 13 years. And so it changes so rapidly, and the athleticism just, it's crazy how quickly it scales and the stuff people are doing. I mean, it's nuts.
And you said that you used to be kind of like wrestling, professional wrestling, in the sense that it was very all scripted and all that. And it's not that anymore.
It isn't, no.
But there is still these alternate personas though, right?
Yeah. There are holdovers from the first iteration for sure. When modern roller derby started, it definitely was less serious. It was, a bunch of punk rock girls just, getting drunk and having fun. And like a lot of the skaters will have, roller derby names. I actually stopped using mine a few years ago, but mine was Micki Speedia. So
yes, a nerd.
Yeah. It's like, I'm Mickipedia on Twitter and everywhere else. And so I just kind of extended the pun, Micki Speedia. My number was 1337. It was very nerdy.
But you stopped using it.
Yes, I stopped. When I started competing internationally, I started skating under my real name because I felt like I wanted this sport. I just wanted it to be legit, and it is. It's so competitive, whether you use your real name or not. And I don't care what other people do, but I wanted to use my real name because I just wanted to be I wanted to be respected as an athlete,
So what's on the horizon for Superfit Hero?
Right now, it's all about restocking and just staying stock. But I'm also putting out 4 new prints. So I'll be releasing them, once a month to kind of keep things fresh over the next few months. And then I'll be getting into really fun new solid colors I'm really, really excited about. And then with that will come some sort of top or bra situation. I haven't quite nailed it down yet. But
a top or bra situation.
Yeah. I'm thinking, like a sort of supportive crop toppy thing, like a cross between a bra and a top is sort of where I'm headed, I think. I'm excited about potentially getting into sports underwear, maybe eventually some more like to the gym, leaving the gym stuff, cozy stuff. But definitely focused on performance for now with a top situation coming soon. Yeah.
Cool. So how do people learn more?
So I'm super findable. If you just Google Micki, M-I-C-K-I, it's me on the internet. But Superfit Hero is definitely where I'm posting everything these days. So superfithero.com, @superfithero on all the social media networks. I am active on Twitter at Mickipedia, but it's mostly, politics.
Awesome. It was great to have you, and it's just really fun to see you, first of all, just taking on something new and then seeing what it's like in the throes of it.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I was able to give you some insight. I appreciate the conversation.
The 3 things that stuck out at me were, first, it's so discouraging to hear about Micki's challenges early on. 7 factories? I mean, LA is the largest manufacturing center in the country. And why is it so hard to figure out how to get things made? Her story offers a different perspective from last week's conversation, and I really wish the process could be easier for early-stage companies. There's such an opportunity to streamline the process, which is part of what Make It in LA is trying to do with the Catalyst program. But it's also encouraging to see how, with a little patience and hard work on her part, her factories are now catering to her. Also, Micki is applying everything she learned about product development from her past startup experiences. She bought every legging she could find, she solicited input from her friends and network, and she iterated over and over, until 6 versions later, she was finally ready to launch. And now, she's applying a new kind of thinking as she's handling customer service. It's about taking input head on and making customers feel listened to and feeding it back into that process. It seems kind of obvious when you describe it, but these are the activities that founders often overlook when they get caught up in the thick of things. And finally, I find it exciting that Micki is redefining so many things with her one startup. She's certainly not buying into stereotypes, like only venture-backed businesses are worth starting, or that only skinny models are worth showcasing. And how is it that she is starting an athletic fashion business? None of these 3 words, athletic, fashion, or business, fit her in the traditional sense. But ironically, I think it's because she's reclaiming these activities, which long ago were co-opted by big business and mainstream culture, that her product is resonating with people who never felt part of that culture. Check out Superfit Hero's Instagram feed, and you'll see that it's a totally different kind of fashion company. Sometimes the most revolutionary thing seems so obvious once someone else finally does it. Now, on a totally different note, I want to ask you for your advice. I created The Art of Manufacturing 2 years ago to help share the stories of founders who make things. It taps into my passion for finding undiscovered people and ideas and helping them make impact. There's a lot of attention paid to tech in Hollywood, But pioneers who make things that we eat, wear, drive, and use are mostly ignored. But I'm thinking about rebranding the podcast. I love the name The Art of Manufacturing, but I worry that I'm preaching to the choir. If I'm trying to raise awareness about manufacturing, I wonder if having a podcast sound like it's only about manufacturing doesn't reach the rest of the world. On the other hand, I don't want to just be another podcast about innovation or entrepreneurship either. There's something I love about being a champion for undiscovered innovators and seeing the process behind the scenes, the ups and downs as it's happening, and subversively changing how people think about what entrepreneurship looks like. What do you think? Should I rebrand it with another name? Should I broaden the focus just a little bit to appeal to a broader audience? I'm open to any and all advice. Email me at team@artofmfg.com or message us on social at @artofmfg. Time to wrap it up for The Art of Manufacturing. Tune in next Thursday for a new episode and another sneak peek at how entrepreneurs are making it. For show notes, visit www.artofmfg.com. Follow our adventures on Instagram and Twitter at @artofmfg. And to chat with other like-minded creators, join the Art of Manufacturing Facebook group. Never miss an episode. Subscribe on iTunes or Spotify or your favorite player. And if you like the show, do us a favor and leave us a review. Or send us a message with your thoughts and ideas to feedback@artofmfg.com. This podcast is produced by At Large and Dangerous in collaboration with Make It in LA and other partners. Visit makeitinla.org/connect to sign up for local LA events and news. A big shout out to Peter Brandenburg, the producer and audio engineer. Thanks for listening to The Art of Manufacturing. I'm Z Holly, and remember, don't just make it, make it.